Good afternoon, evening, morning. This is Deborah Roth from Spirited Living, back again with another edition of playing with our inner goddess team, embodying the divine feminine with this energy that is represented in goddesses all over the world. It's just been a journey I've been on, well, certainly for the last 25 years, very specifically, but also very much about really since the pandemic when I started doing these videos. And what is compelling for me is, I mean, if any of you who have been to my office know I have these goddess figures all over the place that I use in my women's circles, which we are starting up the new moon circles live at the end of May 1st, May Day. I'm so excited. More about that another time. But what I'm going to share with you today and what I do each week is to really highlight a goddess that from any faith tradition, from any spiritual tradition around the world, that is either being celebrated this time of year or whose energy fits in with, the new moon energy or the full moon energy, or just happens to have come knocking on my door at some point and says, do me, do me. So I really encourage you to call on, even though some of these are very connected to the calendar, you can call on these energies. You can call on your own inner goddess team, your own divinely feminine power and energy any time of the year. Doesn't matter when. And I encourage you, subscribe here so you can get to know, subscribe on my YouTube channel if you're watching this on YouTube. If not, go there. Just put in Deborah Roth. And so you can learn about all these different archetypes, because that's really what the goddesses are. They are representations of these qualities that we all carry within us, regardless of gender. I've done a little video that talks about what that's about, which you can see if you click on the little eye that's in the corner of the YouTube video, or else at the end of this video on YouTube, there's a button you can push that talks about more about the divine feminine. So with that little preamble, I won't go into a lot of what those divine feminine qualities are here. They always show up, of course, when we're talking about these goddess archetypes from around the world. Hey, Marcia, wonderful to see you here. And so this week, sometimes I think I know about a goddess because I know a lot about feminist psychology and women's spirituality and all that. This one really, I've heard of. I actually, one of my first pieces of jewelry was in honor of Maya, who is the Buddha's mother. We don't hear a lot about her because there's not a whole lot to say. That's what I thought about her past the birth of Buddha. And what I discovered in really expanding further and researching, which just always blows me away, is that there's so much more to her story and so much more to the depth and breadth that she brings to everyone, that she could bring to Buddhism. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So what we do know about Maya is that she was on her way to her parents' house, very pregnant. I'm going to look at some of my notes because, as I said, a lot of this is new to me. So he was actually born when she was Queen Mayadevi. Her husband was the king. She was on her way to her parents' house in a southern district of Nepal when she felt her birth pains. So she stopped. Obviously, she bathed herself in a sacred pond. Obviously, it became sacred after she bathed herself in it. And it was in Lumbini, and it's called the Limbini Grove, and that's where it's said, where the scriptures say, the Buddhist scriptures say that Buddha was born. And it's said that when he was born, he sprang, sort of like Athena springing out of the forehead of Zeus. Many of us have heard that story. He sprang out of her side and miraculously walked 7 steps, leaving, and I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it. I have a very lovely representation of, let's see. So she looks pretty great for someone who's just given birth, kind of a C-section in some ways. So that is Mahadeva, Mayadeva. There you see little Buddha, and he's walking on these lotus flowers that sprung up under his feet as he walked by. Now, what the scriptures say about her is that she lived for 7 days and then died. And her sister was with her when this happened, and they were very close. And she actually became Buddha's foster mother and raised him. And there's a whole other story about her, written by this Buddhist scholar, feminist scholar, really, Wendy Garling, who wrote a book. Let's see if I can find the name of it. The Woman Who Raised the Buddha. Her name was Mahaprachappi. But this is not about her. This is very much about Buddha's mother. Maybe we can hit Mahaprajatis another time. So the story goes that she died. Her name means the great illusion. So it almost feels like there's Mahamaya is another one of her names. Mayadevi, which is another, what she's also called, is the mother of creation. So she has lots of this around her. And this Wendy Garling takes a very kind of feminist stance about the power of this birth story and what and how Buddhists have treated women. And I put this quote really really got me that she had, and I'll try to remember to put the link to this article in the Buddhist Review, the Buddhist Journal, the Tricycle is the name of the journal. So Maya's cameo at her son's nativity fits the reductionist, androcentric, and misogynist treatment of women generally found in the Buddha's biography. So, pretty strong language there. So what part of her life's work is to go back and, uncover the stories like the Buddha's foster mother who raised him. So these three stories that she comes across, that this scholar came across, the first one they call Maya's Agony. And this is taken from the period where, if you know Buddha's story, when he was not yet the Buddha, he was Siddhartha, the Prince Gautama Siddhartha. He was sitting under his tree. He was emaciated and close to death because he was living this ascetic life and was not eating anything. And he's so close to death that, let's see, at this point, Maya has become a goddess. She's, after she died, after those 7 days, everybody thinks she's disappeared. The celestial beings contact her in heaven and say that her son is dying. She runs, she leaves the banks of the river and goes to the banks of the river where she finds him lying unconscious. And she sings, and this is so beautiful. She sings to him, "When I gave birth to you, my son, in the Limbini Grove, without support, like a lion, you took 7 steps on your own. You gazed in the 4 directions and said beautiful words, 'This is my last birth.' Those words can now never come to pass. To whom can I turn for my son? To whom shall I cry out in my pain? Who will give me back my only son, who is barely alive?" Now, on hearing this, Buddha arouses himself, and he returns to consciousness and asks who she is. And she says, "I'm your mother, O son, for who 10 months I carried you." And he says to her, I'm okay, Mom. I will fulfill my prophecy. I will fulfill my destiny, and tells her not to despair, but to rejoice. And she's reassured, and she circles him 3 times, showering him with flower petals, and then returns to her heavenly abode. So that's a very sweet connection. The next one is when they reunite, when Buddha has, is this it? Let's see. Oh, so he's been tirelessly teaching for almost 40 years, and he's nearing the end of his life. This time it's for real. And he wants to convert his mother to the Dharma, to his teachings, as an act of gratitude for giving birth to him. So upon hearing that, all the celestial beings run to her again, and he reaches heaven, he rests under a tree, and he gives all these teachings by all these disciples around him. He gives a lengthy discourse, and he expresses this desire to see his mother. And when the messenger runs to his mother, she says, on hearing this, Maya's breasts stream with milk. Overwhelmed with emotion, Maya responds by stating that if it is her son, the liquid, the milk, will reach his mouth directly. And miraculously, of course, it does. It swims wherever it has to go and comes to him directly. So she decides that she's going to end the bonds of rebirth herself by ending her relationship with her son, which is a big sacrifice. Buddha says to her, we've now separated and you're with me always, mother, something like that. So that's that's the second kind of forgotten story, as it's called. The third one is traditionally in the Buddhist scriptures, it's said that the last person that Buddha sees before he dies is one of his senior disciples, one of his top disciples. What they've discovered in a couple different alternate scriptures, including a 7th century Chinese pilgrim who noted in his chronicles that there was a statue near the cremation site commemorating Maya's final visit with her son. So word reaches Maya in heaven once again that her son has died. She arrives at his coffin, faints from emotion. When she comes back, she mournfully touches his robe and bowl and staff lying nearby, and the coffin lid miraculously opens. He sits up, brilliant light bursts forth in all directions. Reunited for the last time, the Buddha praises Maya as a woman and a mother and comforts her with his final teaching. I beg you not to cry, as all these events conform to the Dharma. So I loved these stories. I loved how, as Wendy Garland, this scholar, talks about how they really give us a much fuller, deeper view of Maya, and how they, even though she's not seen, that her presence, it really confirms, it really offers the perspective that her that her presence was felt throughout his life, and that her enduring love is one of the themes that can really encourage women to become, and not to see the sexism that resides in Buddhism, like so many of the religions. I had one last picture, and then I'm going to share a beautiful Buddhist meditation with you to close out. This I just thought was lovely. One of the ones that I found that really, that was when she did have an earthly connection with her son. So I hope you find this stuff as fascinating as I do. What I will leave you with is an invitation when you. Her name also means that the something like the reliever of illusion. So maybe there's an illusion around her. So you can call on Maya for creativity and fertility. She did give birth to the Buddha. And when you want to clear the fog of illusion and see things clearly, people or situations that you're not getting the whole picture, that you're not getting a true look at reality, or the true essence of something. And I will leave you with sometimes I chant because I love singing these chants to various goddesses. This one is probably one of the more beloved and well-known of the Buddhist meditations, and it's the metta or loving kindness meditation. So you can close your eyes and take it in, or just follow me however you want. It has 3 parts to it, speaking first personally, and you'll see when I do it. It goes, may I be safe from inner and outer harm. May I be happy and peaceful. May I be strong and healthy. May I take care of myself with joy. May you be safe from inner and outer harm. May you be happy and peaceful. May you be strong and healthy. May you take care of yourself with joy. May we be safe from inner and outer harm. May we be happy and peaceful. May we be strong and healthy. May we take care of ourselves with joy. So carry that with you as you care for yourself, as you call on Maya to guide you forward in whatever way you want to call on her. Thanks so much for joining me, and I will be back with you next week. Let me know, comment if you're watching on YouTube or on Instagram, wherever. Would love to know your experience with Maya. Thanks for joining me. Namaste.